Okay, go ahead and start your meeting.
All right. Welcome everyone to the uh, Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections regular meeting. I'm going and pulling up this agenda um, for today's meeting. All right. August 18, 2020. This is a virtual meeting due to COVID-19 precautions. Um, I'll start with a reading of the board member oath of office. It says, I do swear or affirm that I will, as a member of the Board of Elections, duly attend all ensuing primaries and elections during the continuance thereof, that I will, to the best of my ability, prevent any fraud, deceit, or abuse in carrying on the same, that I will make a true and perfect return of such primaries and elections, and that I will at all times truly, impartially, and faithfully perform my duties in accordance with Georgia laws to the best of my judgment and ability. All right, and the next item on our agenda is to adopt the agenda. So if members would review the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I have something I would like to add to the agenda.
Go ahead.
I would like to add requesting mediation to the agenda.
Okay, under new business.
Under, yes.
Okay, so new business requesting a mediation. And I believe that was a motion you're making.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and Mr. Raffle, would you like to second that motion?
Sure. Yeah, I can second that. We can discuss it.
Great. So a motion and a second have been made. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. So it's unanimous that agenda item is added under new business. Is there anything else that would need to be changed or added?
We may not get to these things today, but also new business, could we put policies, updated copy of the version of the bylaws, and budget. I don't know whether I said that before or not.
I think I heard you say adding discussion about policies, updated version of the bylaws, and budget. And that would be under new business. Actually item number 5 under new business. Okay.
And also the minutes of the meetings.
Okay. So you want those 4 topics under the same?
Well, each one is a separate item.
Okay. So I heard adding. It would be, what order you want to go in? Policy.
Yeah, that's good.
I heard minutes, policy, updated bylaws, and budget. Which one of those do you want first?
Let's go with budget and then updated copies of the version of bylaws.
Budget, updated version of bylaws, and then the last 2 would be minutes and policies.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so the new agenda would reflect new business items. The 4th one we just approved, mediation, but then 5th would be budget. 6th will be, I'm just kind of making a note here. So 5th would be, so 4 is the mediation request.
Yeah, well, we can, it was first. It was my first request, so it would be first.
You want that to be at the top of new business, or?
No. Whatever order it falls in after what we already have on the list.
Right. So it's, we originally had 3 coming in, and now we have 4 as mediation
number 4.
requests.
Yes.
And then 5 is budget, and then 6 would be updated bylaws. 7 would be minutes, and 8 would be policy?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Raffle, are you comfortable with that? Do you want to second that motion?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So motion and second have been made. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right. So it is unanimous. So we'll proceed with, oh, well, now do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I move we adopt the agenda as amended.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. And motion and second have been made. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So it's unanimously adopted. Let's see. We have, next is to adopt minutes of previous meetings. So if members will scroll down past the agenda that was emailed to us today.
I'm having a problem finding the agenda. Because when I'm looking at my email, it does not say agenda. It has a whole lot of other tack on emails. So can someone please send me just a straight copy of the agenda?
I'm going to forward it right now.
Thank you.
Jesse, excuse me. I think I heard Mr. Napper's voice. I just wanted to confirm that he's here.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So thank you for letting me know. So I'm hitting reply all with the agenda and everything. And then I'm going to just hit send. And it should just pop up at the top of your email account. And Ms. Fambro, would you like me to hold off on proceeding? Or,
No, I was just looking over some notes I had taken.
okay. So should we continue then?
Could you give me just a second?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay. So all members are looking at their minutes right now, right? The one thing that I see would be just to make sure that, as we've discussed in the past, that the motions that were made and adopted, that they be not placed under the public comment section of the minutes. That they basically that the minutes reflect the structure of the meeting, like the agenda. And so those two things would be, those motions would be actually placed under the new business items from our previous meeting on July 7th. Does that make sense, Ms. Fambro?
Yes.
Okay. So if there is no, do any members see a need to change the minutes, or is there a motion to adopt the minutes for July 7th, 2020?
noticed about the minutes, there's
Go ahead.
very, unless I'm missing something, there's very little context to the minutes. You know, it has all this stuff listed, but no conversation that went forth or no conversation that went forth about the items that were discussed.
And
I can speak to that if you'd like me to, Mr. Chairman.
go ahead.
Well, just to say under the open meetings law, Georgia only requires notice meetings. So ultimately, to comply with the open meetings law, you only have to have a listing of the item discussed and a vote. It doesn't have to be detailed verbatim minutes. And in fact, we would not recommend that.
I wasn't asking for verbatim, but for context, for me, if I said something, I would like to know what I said, or if I made a motion, and I don't want to scratch through 3 hours of tapes or video.
Mr. Drake, I believe, I think I heard you say that it's not required by the open meetings law to provide more context, but I'm guessing that means it is still permissible.
Yeah, that is correct. But I would recommend that you only do what's required, because otherwise you're going to have issues where, you know, you don't have a court reporter taking it down. So you're going to have arguments over whether it was taken down correctly and what was said. And I think that leads to confusion. And this board has had that type of confusion in the past.
Ms. Van Bro, did you have anything to respond with about that?
I'm not happy. You know, nobody's asking for a detailed account of what is being said, but most certainly the important highlights should be on there. And if people have complaints, then we gladly go back to the 3 hour tapes and the 2 and 3 hour tapes and videos.
So, Ms. Van Bro, are you open to having someone type up verbatim minutes, like, you know, like record them, kind of like what Mr. Drake said, like a court reporter or someone with that skill set?
I think we discussed that before, but certainly we're missing some of the essences of what is going on in the meeting. When we don't speak to specific topics. And I don't know about anybody else, but I have real good sense when I'm in the meeting. But if you ask me what I said 2 weeks later, or you know, or maybe 4 weeks later, it may be looking a little suspicious to me, or it might not bring a whole picture. What I'm saying is, as a board member sitting here, but I don't get the whole, when I go back and read this, I don't get the picture of what's really going on in the board meetings.
Yeah, that's been a shared concern of mine for quite some time. I guess the question is, how do we provide more detail while also avoiding the
Well, you know,
issues?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You know, I agree with details, but I don't even see essence.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I think that we should be having our minutes, like at least like as a starting point, be structured, you know, in accordance with the agenda's structure. You know, they should reflect, basically, if a motion's made under a new business item, and you know, that should be written, like, you know, written under that new business item, not just listed under public comments. Ms. Amber, do you want to return to this later, or do you have a suggestion for
Well, I'd be happy, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to send out a summary of what is required to be done by Georgia law as part of the minutes. And certainly the staff needs to be meeting those requirements. And you can see what that is, and we could discuss it again.
Okay, and Ms. Fambro is the secretary of the board.
That would be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment on this.
Go ahead, sir.
I think we just need to be doing what is required by the law. I do not believe the mayor and commission provides a transcript. If perhaps the manager or someone could confirm that, but I think it's not the best use of time and money.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I agree with Mr. Raffle. I think we need to follow the direction that our attorney has given us in this matter.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Napper, Mr. Raffle, and Ms. Fambro. And I guess from here we'll receive what the summary that Mr. Drake will send us, and we can revisit this later. Is that acceptable to you, Ms. Fambro?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt minutes for July 7th, 2020?
So moved, July 7th.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. So it passed unanimously. Moving on to minutes for July 15th.
Willa, you need to unmute your microphone, please.
I hate to digress, but I see the board secretary and board chair at the bottom of this. Are we still signing that, or what's going on with that?
To my knowledge, we would need to be provided the opportunity to sign off on the finalized version after we have these meetings and approve these minutes. Is that correct, Mr. Drake? Mr. Drake, are you there?
Sorry, Commissioner Evans. Mr. Drake just stepped in my office to ask me a question. So he's going back to his desk. I apologize that we missed your question. What can we do for you?
Jesse, you need to unmute your mic.
Thanks. So, Ms. Fambro, do you want to repeat your question? It's muted.
No, I didn't intend for y'all to hear that anyway, okay? I asked if I see our names are still included on the signees, or the sign off for the, are we still doing that, or are we still being required to do that?
And my understanding, Mr. Drake, and let me know if I'm off here, is that the board secretary and the board chairperson are to sign off on the minutes once they've been approved by the board.
I don't know. I'm not sure that's a requirement. That's not a requirement of the Georgia Open Records Law or the Georgia Open Meetings Act, to my knowledge. I don't know if that's contained in your bylaws. I don't recall that being, but I can look and see. So that's no requirement. All it's required is the meetings be approved. Minutes be approved by a vote of the board. To my knowledge, unless there's a special requirement in your bylaws, that's not a requirement under the law.
Okay. Ms. Famber, does that satisfy your?
I'm totally happy not to put my signature on anything.
Okay. It's, you know, and like you said, it's showing up at the bottom of each one of these still. So, okay. Is there a motion? Actually, let me back up. Is there any discussion about the minutes for July 15th? Again, the one request I have is that the minutes reflect the skeleton of the organization of the agenda for the meeting so that people know what the topic, like where in the meeting, what section these motions were made under. They have more context, as Ms. Fambro was indicating earlier. If we have the agenda items listed, like, you know, as a heading, you know, and the motions provided underneath those. Do we have a motion to adopt the meetings, or excuse me, the minutes for July 15th, 2020? Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes for July 15th, 2020?
So moved.
Great,
I
thank you.
second.
Motion made by Mr. Raffle, seconded by Ms. Fambro.
Yep.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye, it's unanimous. The minutes for July 15th have been adopted. Moving on to August 6th.
We met for an hour. And we have basically a skeleton report here of the minutes. Now, we either need to shorten up our minutes or we need to enlarge the territory on what's going on in the meetings.
Yes, I think again,
It's just not adding up for me.
yeah, if you look at the minutes, there's no way to really actually know the flow of the meeting, the content of the meeting. So again, I really think that these minutes should reflect, like, to be structured around the agenda structure so that people can see the topics that we discussed during the meeting. That would be at a minimum for some sort of context of what was going on. Do you agree, Ms. Fambro?
I agree that I cannot believe that we only had 2 items on the agenda and we spent an hour on it. Now, I know we go a long time sometimes, but I'm just.
Yeah, this is not the agenda. Like, it doesn't show the agenda here. We didn't have 2 items on the agenda. It was there was much more context and much more structure to the agenda than what's provided here. Is adopt agenda and adjourn. So that's not reflective of the agenda, because we definitely didn't show up with an agenda that says just adopt agenda and adjourn. So we can return to that when we get down to that item if you'd like to.
That's fine.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes for August 6th, 2020?
So moved.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. It passed unanimously. The minutes have been adopted for August 6th, 2020. And the next and last set of minutes to review and approve are the August 11th minutes.
I move that we accept.
A motion by Ms. Fambro that we adopt the minutes for August 11th. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat that, please?
A motion made by Ms. Fambro to adopt the minutes for August 11th, 2020, and I'm asking if we have a second for that motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Ms. Fambro, seconded by Mr. Raffle. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. So it is unanimous. The minutes for August 11th, 2020 have been adopted. Moving on to the next item on our agenda. And that is public comment. I have 2 emails that were sent for public comment, and I believe those were shared with the board probably as well. The first email received for public comment was sent on August 14th. I'm getting a little feedback on my microphone, or sorry, on my computer. Anybody who's not speaking, could you go ahead and mute your mic, please? So this email was sent to us on August 14th, and it says, Jesse, the following is my public comment for the board. My name is Blake Tanner. I live at 167 Featherwood Court. I have a great deal of empathy towards the board's challenges as we approach the general election period this year. Citizens are very concerned about safely voting in the middle of the worst pandemic in our collective memory. Doubts about the stability and timeliness of our postal system have entered the public discourse. Attacks on our trust of the absentee voting system are occurring from the highest office in the land. Our last election period was marked by systemic failures in the voting process not far from Athens. As voters, we are being squeezed from every direction. How will we be able to vote safely, securely, and not put a tremendous burden on the Board of Elections' responsibility to swiftly tabulate the votes? Clearly, the driver of most of our difficulties is the continued persistent danger that COVID-19 presents to the public. It is now clear that spending more than 15 minutes in an enclosed space with multiple people risks infection. Poorly ventilated older buildings compound the risk even further. It is no wonder that voters flock to absentee voting for the primary election. People do not want to take unnecessary risks. It is also clear the stress that this new wave of absentee voting placed on all of our counties. Equipment and personnel could not keep up with the mountain of mail-in ballots that flooded in. In response to all these stressors, I would like to suggest that we explore creative solutions that uniquely address the fears, real dangers, and limitations at play. I believe that we need to explore creating early voting sites that are outside. Basically, let me say that again. I believe that we need to explore creating early voting sites that are outside. This would come in the form of two different models. One model would set up large tent areas without walls that would house the usual setup for an early voting site. The open air and likelihood that the site would allow for long socially distanced lines would mitigate the danger of having folks congregate to vote. The other form would be a drive-through style voting site for early voting. If the schools are still not operating at the time of the election, many of them have traffic patterns that would naturally facilitate a drive-through line. Small tents could be set up, one for check-in, 3 for voting stations, 1 for the scanner. In each of these models, portable generators could be used to provide the power for all the equipment. If we can power AFFEST with generators, we can power voting sites. I want to make it clear that I know that these are not easy solutions to achieve, but I believe that we have enough time to test what might work to facilitate outdoor voting. Outdoor voting would create an environment that is scientifically safer for the voter and the poll workers. It would provide an option that may lessen the use of absentee voting, thus taking the pressure off of the vote counting process on election day. It would create an answer to all of the fears that have been injected to question security of relying on the Postal Service to deliver our votes on time, and remove barriers for those that are fearfully choosing between exercising their franchise or risking their health. We are living in extraordinary times. In response, I hope that you will look to extraordinary solutions, create an atmosphere that maximizes voter participation in this county. Thank you for your service. And again, it's Blake Tanner. The next public comment piece is from Jacqueline Elsner. It says, "Dear members of Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections, regarding your request for the Athens-Clarke County Commission to approve funding to mail out applications for absentee ballots for registered county voters, I emailed and heard back from 3 of the commissioners. They're in favor. They have the request on the agenda for today's agenda setting meeting of the commission. Be as persistent as you possibly can in this effort. Thank you, board members, for your volunteer service. Thank you, staff of our Board of Elections office. Thank you, Ms. Sosby, for your funding request to our commissioners. Each of you serves our democracy as essential workers. I appreciate your dedication to the highest level of service in our elections. Gratefully, Jacqueline Elsner." And that is all of the public comment that I see on my end. Director Sosby, is there any that was sent to staff? Director Sosby? If you're speaking, the microphone is muted. Lisa?
I was speaking from my phone, but obviously you can't hear me from my phone. So now that I'm talking to my computer, it sounds like I'm talking on my phone and my computer because I'm having a feedback. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do.
If I can speak up, if you will mute your phone, then you should get rid of that feedback.
That was going to be my suggestion as well.
That's what I have. My phone is muted. I don't know, but yeah, my phone's muted.
Charlotte, I can mute it on my end if you want me to. See if that helps.
Mute my, I'd rather talk from my phone.
Okay.
Can you hear me from my phone now?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I must have been muted a while ago because now I have my computer muted and my phone is unmuted. But no, there are no, other than what you received, we have no other comments from the office.
Thank you, Director Sosby. You know, Director Sosby, I'm not seeing on the agenda, normally there's a director's update on the agenda, but I don't see it.
The paperwork was included.
Yeah, it's in the paperwork. It's normally it's right after public comment. But for some reason it's not showing up on the agenda here. So I think that we need to have the director's update right now. Mr. Drake, is it okay if we allow that since that's normally what we have on the agenda? Do we need to like vote to the agenda?
Yeah, I think I have an abundance of caution. Let's have a motion to amend the agenda to add the director's update.
Okay. Do we have a motion to insert after public comment and before old business an agenda item for the director's update?
So moved. Director's update.
Second.
Motion second have been made. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Napper, I think you're muted, but I think I saw you say aye, I believe. Okay, he's giving me a thumbs up now. And I say aye as well, so now it's there. Go ahead, Ms. Director Sosby.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to try to get through this because I will need to log into the commission meeting soon, as well as some others that are on this call. You have the activity report, and I just wanted to highlight there's one correction that needs to be made. Down at the bottom where it says letters sent to voters and felony removals, it shows 0, it should be 15. And I wanted to highlight that we have 79,855 eligible voters for the month of end of July. Is what we had, 79,855. The next item number 2, is the update on the turnout from the June 9th election. I provided you a spreadsheet of the advanced voting locations and each day totals of voters who took advantage of advanced voting during the general primary election on June 9th. And just to note, those locations and the number of voters who took advantage of extended hours, as you notice on at the Board of Elections office was where our larger number of advanced voters visited. But on Wednesday, where we extended till 7:30, I believe it was, we have 30 voters that were at the library. So you're getting some voters who are taking advantage of the extended hours. You'll be interested to see what November will bring, but this is what the turnout was. We had a 37% voter turnout, I believe it was, for the primary, and majority of our voters took advantage of absentee balloting. I wanted to make note of that. The next item is the recap of the provisional voters. We had one voter who cast a provisional voter during the general primary runoff election. And because that voter had already voted absentee, the ballot had been returned to the office and processed and tabulated, so we rejected that ballot. We have informed the voter of this information, so we do not have any official accepted provisional ballots for this election. And we'll be able to certify the election as timely as we had planned on Thursday. Anybody have any questions about the absentee, or excuse me, the provisional voter?
Just to confirm, I believe you said that that person voted absentee and that absentee ballot was counted, and that's why the provisional ballot is no longer needed, and that's why we're rejecting that.
That's correct. And normally when a voter shows up at the polls and we show that they have voted absentee, if they don't remember voting absentee or for some reason the absentee ballot was not returned, we allow them to vote a provisional ballot and let us do our research. And then, of course, we were able to find that this person had voted absentee. So that ballot was counted with the absentee ballots on Election Day.
All right, thank you.
The next item is the absentee ballot process on November 3rd for the general election. So far, we have 8,000 absentee ballot applications that we have received. I've noticed, in addition to the political parties, there are several other organizations that we're receiving applications from. Ballot Ready is one application that we're receiving a lot of emails from. Vote.org is an organization that a lot of our voters are using to apply for the absentee ballot. VoteAmerica.com, Vote by Mail, and I just noticed today that we're receiving a lot of phone calls and absentee ballot applications from Center for Voter Information, where voters can vote and register to vote. And I understand there's some things going on in other states regarding this organization, but we're doing what we're supposed to do by law, and that's if an application is received, we're verifying the information with what we have on the system, and we are verifying the signature. And if all of that passes, then all of the absentee ballots will be mailed accordingly. So we are aware of some of the other parties that's out there. We're getting tons of calls every day where voters who have already completed absentee ballot requests are wondering why they're getting these applications by mail. And we're just pulling their names up, verifying that we already have information, verifying that their address is correct, and just telling them to just toss the application that they have in hand.
Great. So can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
The absentee ballot applications that are received prior, I was told recently that the Secretary of State's office is going to be mailing the ballots out for all people who submit absentee ballot applications prior to like the end of September. Is that accurate?
No, the Secretary of State's office will not be mailing absentee ballots. We will be mailing our own absentee ballots.
That's what I thought. This person.
Yes, September 15th is the first day that we will be mailing absentee ballots.
Thank you for clarifying. I thought that we were sending them all out, but the other person was telling me that the Secretary of State's office is sending them out for all the ones, all the absentee ballot applications submitted prior to the end of November, or excuse me, September. So I don't know. Thank you for clarifying.
Let's see. Our LNA, tentatively, we have LNA scheduled for September the 10th. That is pending us receiving our data from the Secretary of State's office and ballot proofing, as well as the data that we receive from our No Ink, the vendor who provides us with our poll pad information. So if that date changes, we will let you know, and we will indicate that in our notice that we have to do for the public 5 days prior to starting. But the closer we get to that day, we will be certain what day specifically we will start. But tentatively September 10th at 10 a.m. As I stated just a minute ago, item number 6, we will begin mailing absentee ballots on September the 15th. And the Athens-Clarke County is promoting the absentee ballot process, and we're, upon approval, we will be sending applications to our voters, and it will be, we're hoping to only send those applications to voters who have not already requested an absentee ballot, so that there's not duplication and confusion in our community. The last day to register to vote, item number 7, is October 5th. And we encourage our voters to not only register to vote, if you're not registered already, our citizens to register to vote. We want our voters to also call and just verify their information. Make sure that, you know, you're still registered. You can do that on my voter page, that's mvp.sos.ga.gov. And just be able to verify the information, make sure you register, to make sure the correct address is in the system. So the next item, number 8, is the proposal for advanced voting. And I want to kind of go over this because some of this is just tentative of us getting approval to the location, but we're working on reaching our workers to make sure they're available. The main thing is to make sure we have staffing. Second is making sure we have the equipment, and equipment, not just what we have that the state provided, but we want to make sure we also have laptops, because the laptops are necessary of use when you're doing advanced voting. So we have 7, actually about 6 locations is what we're looking at. And let me just kind of go over this. So, of course, our office is one. Athens Library, which we have used in the past. ACC Cooperative Extension Office. Athens-Clarke County Tennis Center. That's a location that we're hoping to add this year as one of our advanced voting sites to attract the farther east side of Athens-Clarke County. Miriam Moore Community Center, which we have used. The next 2 that are listed, UGA Coliseum and UGA Tate Center. UGA Coliseum, we received a phone call from Mr. Robert Miles. He is the athletic, life skills program athletic person. And he had heard about the State Farm Arena and it being the largest advanced voting location in Georgia. And after hearing about that, you know, he was thrilled about offering the Coliseum to us. In the same time of us talking with Mr. Marshall from UGA Tate Center, whom we've had a relationship with in the past, and conducted 3 days of advanced voting at that location. So it's possible that we might be able to, for certain, we're going to do 3 days at the Tate Center. But if the Coliseum is available for us to do a Saturday voting, we're going to see if they will allow us there, and that hopefully there's no ball game, basketball game, or a volleyball game. And we're still waiting to hear from Mr. Miles. So once we hear from him, we'll be able to come up with something for certain. But our last contact with him was just last week, so we'll reach out to him again. And then Thomas Lay Park was a location that was mentioned as a larger venue in lieu of our office, maybe having 2-3 machines here in our office, and then having a larger venue with more voting equipment in for our voters to vote advanced voting. We had a visit over to Lay Park, but we were also informed recently that Lay Park and the parks in Athens-Clarke County will be assisting our school system. So it's not likely that we're going to have Lay Park. So we need to maybe look at another larger venue. And I welcome suggestions from the board. If you can think of a location that we could do that, even if we didn't have it for the 3 weeks as we had planned, maybe do it 1 week somewhere. Okay, and then moving on to the times, 8 to 5 is what I would like to propose for the first week of advanced voting. The second week, I would like to propose that we work from 8 to 7 every day, Monday through Friday, that second week. And then on Saturday voting, we will work from 9 to 4. On Sunday here in the office from 12 to 4. And then work from 10 to 5 at all of our locations as listed on this plan with UGA on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which is what they proposed to us, from 10 to 5. And yeah, that's my proposal for the board. And I'm open to hear, what suggestions or you might have to add to or take away.
Are there any questions or discussion from the board? Your mic's muted, Ms. Fambro.
It's at least 3 other mics that are open, and I could hardly hear Charlotte when she spoke on what was going on in the second week. So could you repeat that, please?
Yes, ma'am. So the second week was proposing 8 to 7, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday we will have 9 to 4, and then Sunday. And I'm looking at Saturday for all of our locations, of 9 to 4 on that Saturday. And I'm thinking that will be a good day for our commuters and workers who work from 7 to 7. A lot of workers are, working 12-hour shifts. So I'm hoping that we can get our voters to voting advance for those who are not voting absentee, and just really push, early voting and absentee voting. And then on election day, there's not as many people out. We can just spread everybody out, keep everybody safe through this very, very essential time at a moment like this. But that second week to work till 7 p.m. each day.
Thank you.
Director Sosby, did you say that we were not able to use Lay Park at all?
Yeah, that's kind of what we're facing right now, because the parks are really going to be are going to be used by the school systems, right now. So we're definitely going to need to come up with a plan B for a larger venue.
Do you know? So I teach in our local school system here, and I'm wondering what the school system is going to be using it for, because we're going virtual on September 8th. I'm just wondering what Bay Park's going to be used for.
Ms. Sosby, do you want me to take that one?
Please, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Evans, the Clarke County School District and ACC Gov are in current talks about ways that ACC Gov can use its facilities to help alleviate some of the needs that the Clarke County School District has expressed to the government. Some of these are needs during school hours, or some are needs for after school hours, and some may even involve some ongoing talks about providing child care assistance. Some of these are just preliminary talks, and others are things that are already in the works. So to the extent that we're working with CCSD, I think we're just leaving it to CCSD to make that announcement to the general public in more detail.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions from board members about this proposal?
I'd just like to say that it looks good. I like that we have the ACC Tennis Center. I'm excited about UPA. Hopefully that becomes an option, and I'm hopeful that Lake Park will work out.
Yeah, I'm also very about having so many options throughout our community. That'll help to, one, increase access to the vote, but two, kind of mitigate risks of having larger groups of people gather in smaller numbers of locations. So that's a great idea to do that. We have advanced voting later on our agenda. So we could adopt this proposal then, I believe, is when that would be the appropriate time to do that. Does that sound about right, Mr. Drake?
Mr. Chairman, if you could repeat that, please.
Just that we have advanced voting on the agenda later, I believe. Yeah, it's under new business. So I guess like adopting this actual proposal or approving this proposal would be done at that portion of the agenda rather than during the director's update. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, thank you. Director Sylvie, would you like to continue with your update? Director Sylvie, if you're speaking, the microphone is still muted.
Chairman Evans, I think she had to step away for one quick second.
Okay. We're midway through the update. We can come back, I guess.
I think if you just give her 1 second, she'll be right back. We're all trying to multitask and get ready for this commission meeting.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have to leave the meeting.
Say it again, Ms. Ambro.
I asked the question, what time will they have to leave this meeting?
The commission meeting is scheduled to begin at 6 p.m., Ms. Sambro.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. We had somebody knocking on our door. Okay, let's see. The next item is an absentee ballot drop box update. Currently, our locations are the Regional Library, the Board of Elections Office, Transit Multimodal Cooperative Extension, and Fire Station number 7 on Barnett Shoals. I want to make sure that our voters and our citizens know that these boxes are open. We locked them on election night, but they are open now for us to receive applications for absentee ballots. And believe it or not, we got about 50 in our box since we opened it. So our voters are using our boxes. I reached out to, I guess what I want to find out, I know this topic has come up either in your meeting or the commission meeting about considering some additional locations for drop boxes. I guess what I want from the board is a recommendation. And Mr. Chairman, I know you witnessed or that one of the staff members mentioned to you about the transit multimodal. I want to glance at something while I have you. And I think it was provided to you, I'm not sure, but I have a layout of how many ballots we received from each location. Did you guys get that? not sure if I provided, but I'll just give you an idea of what we received. So here in the office of the ballots that we received 1,971 ballots from the Board of Elections office. We started the library box on May 23rd, and we received 696 ballots there. On the 23rd, transit, we received 23. And we started the fire station on, looks like June 1st, with 318 ballots that we received. So I think we probably ought to rethink the transit box. If it's being utilized enough, and with consideration of us getting access to it, sometimes might be difficult. So I don't know if you could suggest if we should maybe consider moving the transit box to another location. Winterville was one location that has been thrown at us. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's just something to think about, but I did put that on the agenda for that reason. And then nothing else, I'll move on to number 10. There needs, we have a call for special election for August 20th. That's to certify the election. We already have that advertised and the agenda is already ready. Poll worker recruitment and training, number 11. We have already started with our recruitment. If we have people follow through with their application process as the way we are getting the inquiries on my email and some information that we're getting from the Secretary of State's office, who are retrieving names and addresses of our community who have shown interest in being poll workers. If we can keep everybody enthused as they are right now, we will have enough of poll workers to staff everything that we need for the election. I'm excited about the enthusiasm of our community, and we're getting numbers and numbers of people showing interest as poll workers. So I'm wanting to tell our community that if you're still interested, go on our website and apply, and we'll surely put you somewhere, because it's going to take our entire community to get this election process and to make it successful. It's going to take everybody. And we're not turning anybody away. We need people who are going to be runners on election day to pick up absentee ballots out of our drop boxes. We're going to need people mailing out absentee ballots. Like I said, we've already got 8,000 applications. Those 8,000 ballots are going to be going out. So we're going to use as many people as we can and make sure we have a successful election. We're going to start our poll worker training on October 1st. And we're going to go through the 31st and make sure everybody's trained according to state law. And most, I'm going to say probably 85% of our poll worker training will be done virtual. And it's an option for our workers to come in and do some hands-on training. It's not required, but it is optional, because we're taking heed to the need to social distance, and we want, as we train our workers, we want them to be healthy on election day. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure everybody stays and remains that way. Open records requests, you have those, and the responses. I can't remember how many it was, but I've been busy. And last thing, if you have any comments or questions, I welcome them. Thank you.
Director Sosby, are there any comments or questions from board members before we move forward?
I have a question. What percentage of those are people who have previously been poll workers and managers. Do you have that information?
Lisa, would you like to answer that question?
Sure. I'm working on contacting all of our active poll workers now. Mainly I've been focusing on contacting people to work early voting, engaging their interest for that. But the ones that Charlotte's discussing are brand new poll workers who have expressed interest either through the state website or through just contacting us in the office. And there's been tremendous interest with new people. What I'm finding too is that most of the people who did not want to work in June because of COVID also do not want to work in November for the same reasons that they didn't prefer to work in June. And I understand that. So we will have a lot of new poll workers. Luckily, all of our managers, except for one or possibly two locations, are seasoned managers who've been at those locations before. So we'll be good in that respect. I just have two that I'm trying to find managers for that we may have to pull from brand new workers. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments before we move forward? Seeing none, we will continue. The next section is old business. The first item is mailing absentee ballot applications to all registered voters in Clarke County. Director Sosby, would you mind updating the board on where we are in that process?
Yes, an agenda item is going before the commission board in a matter of 15 minutes. And I plan to follow along in that and be available to answer any questions they may have. But that is an agenda item in today's commission board meeting.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions from staff, or excuse me, from the board, questions or discussion about this topic before we move on? Moving on to item number 2 under old business. To scale floor plans for all 24 election day polling locations. For this last election in June 9th, the board decided that we would hold off on continuance of pursuit of these to scale floor plans to ensure that each location, polling location, can be set up in a way that that preserves ballot secrecy for our voters, but also that does not violate the one voting booth per 250 rule, and also to where the equipment would always be able to be monitored while in use. And now that June 9th election is gone, and also the runoff in August, I wanted to return to this topic so that we're prepared for November. And I was going to give Director Sosby an opportunity to update the board on that.
Yes, on your July 23rd board update, I sent copies of the layouts for our locations. And as far as privacy is concerned, did you ask me to do those both at the same time? Is that okay if I do them both, number 2 and number 3?
That's okay if you'd like, if you think that it's, better to do it like that.
Okay, so yeah, so the designs that you received on the 23rd of July are the updated version of the layout. And what we're going to do is provide as many touchscreen units, ballot marking devices as we can at each location, according to the 250 rule. But for privacy, if we have to turn a compartment facing the line, and it's within a distance where a voter would not have the privacy that should be provided, then that particular compartment will only be for a hand marking ballot. But we will go with, since the resolution that you all adopted, we will be abiding by that rule.
So when I sat in on, thank you, Director Sosby. When I sat in on training, poll worker training session for June, the June election, and also sat in, or I dialed in remotely to, I think it was a poll manager update training session for that same election. I believe, so from what my experience was, is that staff said to the poll workers and poll managers, the board has created this policy, we've provided it to you, make sure you review that. But also it seemed that it was presented as an option, or that could, but not as something that is to be followed. During my visits to election locations back in June, it was clear that that it wasn't actually necessarily being followed by poll managers. And I'm wondering, because you just said that our poll managers are going to be executing that policy. So are you saying that it's not going to be conveyed to them as an option, but it's going to be conveyed to them as this is what needs to be done?
Yes, that's what we will convey. And if we find that somebody's not following directions, we'll have to have a meeting with them and have it fixed.
Thank you, Director Sosby. Are there any questions or discussion from board members about the floor plans or about item 3, ballot secrecy measures in general? I have one more question, which was a great solution that had been suggested and then actually implemented by some members of some poll workers and also our staff, was laying the machines back, on like a foam block, and that worked really well to help with protecting ballot secrecy. Is that something that's going to be utilized in November as well? And if so, is that going to be for all the machines or just some of the machines like was done in June?
We don't have.
Answer that.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. We saved enough of the styrofoam blocks for every location to have enough to lay back the machines that would be faced towards the center of the room. Those were the only ones that we felt like that was necessary for, and it was a lot of styrofoam to save. So each location has about 4 to 6 pieces of styrofoam that are saved for them, and they go out. They're planned, and we did in June. Those pieces of styrofoam go out to them so that if they have to put a machine facing towards the center of the room, that they can use the styrofoam block.
Alrighty, cool. Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion about ballot secrecy or just clear plans before we move on? All right, moving on, new business, advanced voting for November 2020 general election. Do we have a motion to adopt the proposal that's put forth by Director Sosby during her director's update?
Move.
Heard Ms. Fambro make that motion. Give a second.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the advanced voting plan as proposed by Director Sosby. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I heard 3 ayes. I'm voting aye as well. So it's 4 ayes, and that's unanimous. And is there any discussion about the gentleman who submitted public comment? He was suggesting using some sort of outdoor space. And I was wondering if Director Sosby would kind of speak on that option.
with the outdoor space, that will have to be something that we have to plan to do. Number one, we have to make sure that we have the electrical capacity for what we're using outside of any location. And number two, pending weather. So those are some things we have to make sure we take in consideration.
And Director Sosa, do you recommend us pursuing that as an option?
I do not, but I really do not on a professional level, no.
And that's due to concerns about inclement weather and electrical capacity.
That's correct.
Yeah, I just like to add that my immediate concern was these pop-up thunderstorms and such. It have to be a pretty significant what's the word, infrastructure to withstand some kind of flash flood storm thing. It's a disaster waiting to happen, unfortunately. Now that I think about it, that pavilion that's I guess it's north of the Classic Center, it's like really well covered. Maybe that's an option. I'd love to look into that. Are you all familiar with what I'm talking about?
They're located.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll tell you where it is. I think it's called the 404 Foundry Pavilion or something.
I know what you're saying. There's actually really big outdoor market held there. It's on that road behind the Classic Center.
It's where they put the hockey, or not the hockey rink thing at Christmas.
Yeah, and actually, like if you're at the parking deck behind the Classic Center, and you're on the bottom, and you come out of it and take a right on that road behind the Classic Center, it's on your right.
I guess we do have that, but gosh, I don't know about the logistics or anything of that. But I'd love to just at least make some kind of inquiry into that at least.
So I think it's worth looking into just to see what our options are, and and whether or not we can actually do it. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think that it would be good to have it be a Saturday location though, because you wouldn't want to leave those machines overnight outside. It's yeah.
Right. It would be like a one-day thing, like that on a Saturday or something. Do any of the board members have any questions or comments about this?
That sounds like a logistical nightmare. Bring machines in one day, take them out that same day, deal with the weather, deal with other kinds of things.
Thank you, Mr. Nepper. Yeah, it would be a challenge for sure. I've been, as someone who's been involved with you and loading and unloading, and it'd be something to, it would definitely be different. We haven't done it yet before, so that would be definitely a different way of doing things. And the weather as well. I'm open to staff looking into the option if that's something that
I can't hear you. All I hear is a bunch of static.
I think somebody's phone or microphone was on and it's interfering. Can you hear me now, sir?
Thank you. Yes.
So I agree with you that it would be a logistical challenge. And I'm open to staff exploring the option if others are open to that. But I acknowledge that it would be definitely something we haven't done before. And definitely, it'd be. Mr. Raffle, are you requesting that staff look into it?
I'm happy to look into it myself. If staff is not able, I think it's worth the old college try to take a look at it. I mean, if it's on the Saturday voting day, it's not any different than hauling the equipment into the Tate Center or something. I'd have to go look at the list. You know what I mean?
I do. So, Director Sosby, how do you feel about staff looking into this option?
Well, we could look into it and see what the pricing would be, because I'm sure the Classic Center would charge us for use of their electricity, I'm sure. I do know that during the day, throughout the week, and I know you didn't mention this, but that area is used for parking for the staff there. But I guess we could look into it and get a price and see if our budget will allow it.
Yeah, Director Sosby, I believe Saturday might be the best option in looking at that location. And I also believe I come from an event production background, and I know that they have plenty of power there, and they have in-house electricians. They would charge, but they have big, huge concerts there, so there's plenty of electricity there.
Okay. And then we'll need to make sure we have the staff available to deliver the equipment the same day and pick it up the same day. So that might be difficult for Saturday because we'd have to deliver the equipment Saturday, not Friday, like we would do at other locations the day prior.
Sure.
And then we would have to make sure that same staff could pick the equipment up on Saturday.
How about this? As a backup plan to the Coliseum, this could be Plan B. So it would essentially replace that location if that doesn't work out.
Yeah, the only difference would be we could deliver the equipment to the Coliseum on Friday and pick it up on Monday. That's the only difference. But
yeah,
certainly that would be an option.
Director Sosby, would you like to look into it and then maybe send the board your findings for that?
Yes, I can look into it. I'll try to get it done.
Thank you. Mr. Raffle, is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, thank you, Mr. Director Sosby and Mr. Raffle. If there's no further discussion, we'll move on to absentee ballot drop boxes for November 2020. I believe Director Sosby mentioned adding a Winterville box, and I'm personally in favor of that. I think that it would be great. And does it have to be at a building that is ACC property? And if so, because I thought it had to be at ACC property. And if it does, then is that technically our property?
It has to be a government property.
Okay, so City Hall would work even if it's not ACC City Hall.
That's correct.
Is there any other discussion around that option of having a ballot drop box, an absentee ballot drop box at the Winterville City Hall location?
Is this in addition, or is this moving the multimodal one to Winterville?
My preference would be that it's an addition. I recognize that there was lower use than at the ACC multimodal than at some of these other locations, but honestly, I really think that that has a lot to do with it being the first time it's been used, and also with how it's been advertised. Like, I was wondering if we could actually have on the buses, like, hey, like some sort of advertisement that says, reminds people, you have an absentee ballot drop box here at the multimodal center that you can use to vote. And I don't know, Director Sosby, is that an option to have some sort of advertisement like that, notifying people? And honestly, it's been a while since I've ridden the bus. Do they have like a little ticker on them, or like something overhead, like sound like with ads or ads in the bus itself? I know there's an ad space outside of the bus. Would that be possible, Director Sosby, to like advertise to the people who ride the bus?
I'll have to check into it. I've never had a pricing on the inside of the bus, but the outside of the bus was very pricey, and we don't have anything in our budget right now for any kind of promotions. I'll have to look into it and just get a price for you, basically.
Mr. Raffle, did you have any thoughts on whether or not to move the ACC multimodal box?
Sorry. I do hear the concerns with it being low use, and I'm kind of undecided whether we should move that. It is close proximity to the downtown one. I do think we should put one in Winterville. Also, is the Tate Center an option? That might be a whole logistical mess to deal with UGA putting one in. Oh, it has to be on Athens-Clarke County property, though, right?
I believe government property. Director Sosby just said that it has to be just on any government property. So that's like why we could do it in Winterville. So it would be possible. Director Sosby.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I cut my phone off by accident. Was the question about a UGA box?
Yes.
Okay, I would not recommend that because we will be getting ballots from every county and state in that box, even though it says Athens-Clarke County absentee ballot box. I don't think that would be a good idea, but it's your decision.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I guess back to the original question, I support adding one in Winterville and leaving the multimodal as is.
Is there any other discussion or questions about this topic?
Let's see if I can. I have one piece of information to add.
Go ahead.
Okay, on election night at 7 o'clock, we had to jump through hoops to get over to multimodal to get the ballots out. They're behind locked gates. And Charlotte could probably tell you more about what we had to do, but there were calls that had to be made, and we were unable to get the ballots for close to an hour after the election was over. And we're supposed to pick up from that box exactly at 7 p.m. So that is a concern that it's locked and we can't get in.
I agree that that's a concern. This is something that I go ahead, Miss Fambro.
I'd like to ask a question. Was that because of some miscommunication or something in the planning, or what actually happened? You know, you're telling us the end of the story. Can we go back to the beginning of the story, how this situation occurred?
The gates are locked every night, and the parking lot gates are locked every night. And
I'm not asking that because.
Well, I'll answer your question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We don't go that late any night except for election night. So we encountered it on election night that they were locked. So when our team went over to be in place at exactly 7 o'clock to pull the ballots, they couldn't get in.
So in other words, you all did not have any communication with the multimodal people that they would have someone there to unlock the gate?
I guess that's true, yeah.
That was the beginning of the story that I was asking about, because arrangements can be made, and when you make arrangements, I always call to remind people that, you know, we have this thing going on the 19th, and you said you all were going to have someone here to do this, and that. Do you still have that on your calendar? And if we have not completed those steps, I think that we need to give the multimodal place another chance, another go at it.
Thank you, Ms. Fambro. You basically read my mind. Is there any further discussion, or would someone like to make a motion on adding the Winterville location at City Hall?
Can I add another comment? This is Charlotte.
Go ahead, Director Sophie.
Okay, I just want to point out that from the day that we installed that box on the 23rd, majority of the days that we could check the box, there were no ballots in it. A total of 23 ballots with comparison to 300 at one location that started 2 weeks after that to another location that started the same day of 696 ballots. We have 5 ballot boxes that we purchased. We do still have the initial absentee ballot boxes that we purchased. So the ballot box that we installed at Winterville will not look like the same ballot boxes that we have installed. We will be pulling our old ballot box that we used previously, and we will install that one. And then we will have to purchase camera and security cameras for that location. Another item that is not budgeted. So if this is something that you agree to do, keep that in mind that we may have to still go before the commission to get more money.
Thank you, Director Sosby. Does anyone want to speak in response to that? Go ahead, Ms. Fambro.
I would have to agree. I used to live in Winterville, and the train station is in the boonies. And when I say boonies, it's in the country. I lived in Winterville, and that is not a convenient, and where I live now, that is not a convenient place for me to go. You know, I should be voting somewhere else, but I understand how the things were split up. I should probably be voting over on 4th Street or somewhere closer than where I go, because, and for me, I don't think you're probably going to get about as many ballots in that box as you do at the multimodal center.
Ms. Fambro, so I believe you're speaking in saying that the Winterville location at City Hall may not be optimal for Winterville residents. What are you saying?
Because, okay, you got to understand the layout of Winterville. I lived at Weatherly Woods. I couldn't walk over there, you know, if I didn't have any transportation. Even if I lived on Moselle Road, that would be a hard walk for somebody my age. If we're going to put a box somewhere, let's put it where there is convenience for a group of people who don't have transportation. No, because in my estimation, the area that I lived in, people were pretty mobile. They could get to early voting. They had cars. A lot of folk got 2 cars. So for me, that wouldn't be a great pick. A great pick is somewhere where people are struggling to get to the polls. Because I don't think the bus go out there.
Ms. Fambro, I think I hear you saying that it would be better to ensure that we're providing an option for people who rely on public transportation. I'm open to adding, personally open to adding, but not adding a box and adding it to the Winterville location, but not taking it away from the multimodal location personally. Is there any further discussion on this, or maybe a motion to be made?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I really think we need to have a box out in Winterville. And I'm concerned that we only had 23 ballots dropped in that box. Winterville has a significant population. I think the multimodal is really close to the office downtown, such that we should be able to have a Winterville site. And if we don't have the monies right now, we should be able to take the box at Multimodal and place it at Winterville. Given we'd have to buy, given that we'd have to purchase cameras and that kind of stuff. And if we don't have the money to do that, I think the Winterville site is a needed place for a Dropbox.
Thank you, Mr. Napper. Is there any further discussion or questions or on this matter? Okay, I mean, again, I personally would be in favor of adding a location rather than taking away a location. And to be honest, and be frank, in my experience, with organizing, with canvassing, with creating, hosting events, and, there are populations in our community that are not being reached and not being notified effectively of opportunities. And I really think that if we had a more effective way of informing people and getting out the vote, for people who are more likely to rely upon public transportation, I think that we would see a different result for that Dropbox at the bus station. So I really would like to see what we can do. Like, if we do everything we can here to get the word out, to advertise, to promote it, and then still we see in November, in this election, a very small drop, then maybe that would be worth revisiting. But at this point, it's still a new thing to our community, and I would hate to take away an opportunity for people who rely upon public transportation, and that tends to go with people who have less means. I would hate to take away that opportunity for them and give it to, as Ms. Fambro said, to people who have modes of transportation and stuff like that. That's where I'm at with it. I understand the concerns that people have expressed. I'm wondering if right now if we could get a motion to add a location to Winterville, but that motion that I'm asking for would not be to remove the box from the multimodal location. So is there a motion to add?
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we do that, I think I just heard Director Sosby say that there was not money in her budget to purchase a camera and surveillance for that, for the Winterville site, if you're thinking about putting an additional site in Winterville. Maybe we should have her ask for additional funds to mayor and council for that.
Absolutely. I think that the motion, if it were made, would need to, have on the end of it, a clause that says pending funding approval, necessary funding approval, or pending funding approval from the mayor and commission. That would be the motion, I believe, and that would satisfy, because that's exactly what I was thinking too. Is we can't do it without the money. So if the mayor and commission decides to do that, then we can go ahead and do it. But we need to go ahead and initiate that request process if that's something the board wants to do. But I agree with you. So is there a motion to add an absentee ballot Dropbox to the Winterville at City Hall and pending funding approval from the mayor and commission?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Ms. Rocky, could you repeat the motion first before I vote and have an opinion?
Yes, the motion would be to add, to place a drop box, absentee ballot drop box at Winterville City Hall location, pending, pending approval, funding approval from the Mayor and Commission.
And this is separate from the discussion of the multimodal box. This is in addition.
That's correct. The multimodal, for the motion that I'm requesting, it's the multimodal would have nothing to do with this. We keep it as is and add a box to the Winterville location.
Okay, I can second that pending Mayor and Commission funding.
A motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. I literally have no voices coming out for this vote. So if you're going to vote aye on this, go ahead and unmute your microphone and say aye, please, for the record.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. So it's unanimous, 4 votes for approving this. And Director Sosebee, Director Sosebee, are you still on the line?
I saw a notice that she had left the meeting.
Lisa, is Director Sosebee still on?
I'm still on by my phone, but I went off so I could be part of the commission meeting as well.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So Director Sosebee, would you go ahead and get that going with the funding request for any necessary equipment needed to place that box at the Winterville City Hall?
Is it any other equipment that's needed?
The motion was to place, and it was just approved, was to place the absentee ballot drop box at City Hall, a new one, in addition to what already exists at multimodal in the other locations, and that would be a pending approval of funding from the Mayor and Commission.
Yes, and is it for to place one at Winterville? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, I would have to see if we can get approval for that. It would have to be the camera equipment, and then we could place one of our older boxes over there.
That's fine. I was just following up. We just voted to make that request, and I was just following to make sure that you were going to go ahead and do that for us and get back to us on that.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
It might not be this week or next week, but yes, I will make the request.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is provisional ballot review. We've already reviewed it. And I guess there would be a motion to be made to let me pull it. There's a document at the very end, everybody, of the other attachment, not the agenda one, the one that is the director's update on it. And it's, so the motion would be to reject the one provisional ballot that was submitted for the August 11th, 2020 election for the reason provided, which is that the person already voted absentee ballot. So do we have a motion to reject that provisional ballot because that person had already voted the absentee ballot?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye, it's unanimous. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is the mediation request. And Ms. Fambro, I'll turn it over to you.
I can't hear her.
Phone's muted.
Here I go. At our last meeting, I struggled a lot about what I have to say right now because I felt uncomfortable at our last meeting. Ms. Sosby asked us to trust her, and I felt like she was imploring us to do something, or I felt for myself. I can't speak for anybody else. I felt like she felt that we had a lack of trust in her or a lack of confidence in her. I wanted to say something at that moment, but the spirit wouldn't let me. And I thank God I didn't. And I think that the way I'm feeling uncomfortable. And Jesse had made a request for mediation. And I feel like in order for me to continue to participate on this board, I need to talk some things out with the staff, because for me, I have left meetings and staff were making unnecessary comments about me. I have not brought this up to anyone. It's on tape. And I feel like it's time. As I said, it's difficult for me to do this and to say this, but you know, I don't want to answer what Charlotte said in this forum. I am most tempted to, because I'm a very outspoken person, but I don't think that this is the forum to deal with that. I'm requesting, make a motion that we have mediation, because I don't feel comfortable anymore. And I'm a person that really don't care what you say about me or what you say to me. But for me, the issue of somebody telling me what's on my mind, I'm not comfortable with that. Now, as I said, I don't want to get into a discussion about it, because this is not the time or the place.
Ms. Fambro, I believe I hear you. You've referred to an email that I sent on July 15th, 2020, to Manager Williams and Assistant Manager Deborah Lennon. And that was to request mediation or practices. Have all board members had a chance to see that? It was actually sent to us today, like the entire board. Has everybody had a chance to read that?
I have not had a chance to read it. I've been out of pocket.
No worries. I can go ahead and read it just so everybody's aware of what Ms. Fambro is referencing. So on July 15th, 2020, I sent an email to Assistant Manager Lennon, and it CC'd Manager Williams, and the title was Mediation / Restorative Session, ACC BOE and staff. The email said, Assistant Manager Lennon, how would you feel about the ACC Board of Elections doing some sort of mediation or restorative session with ACC BOE staff? For months, there's been quite a bit of hostility from some staff members toward board members, and it has manifested unprofessionally during board meetings and outside of board meetings. Multiple board members have expressed a willingness to use mediation or one or more restorative sessions to try to resolve whatever's behind this hostility. When would be a good time for me to call you to discuss the possibility of pursuing something like this? Thank you so much for all you do. Really, Jesse Evans, Chair, ACC Board of Elections. So that's the email that Ms. Fambro just referenced. And I think that Ms. Fambro has expressed something that I'm feeling, and I've been feeling for a while. Actually, since I mean, even before year, this year, but earlier in the year, definitely around March. You know, and I expressed that at the SEC hearing. But again, as Ms. Ambrose said, I don't think this is the proper forum to get into the details. But I do agree personally that it would be helpful for the board and for staff to engage in some sort of mediation to resolve whatever is behind the hostility that we've been experiencing from staff. And with that, I'll ask if there's any other comments or questions or a motion to be made.
Would you repeat what you said about Chairman?
Basically, I'm just returning the floor to the entire board and asking if there are any comments or questions, or if there's any motion to be made on this topic.
I've made my comment, and I want to make a motion that we have some type of mediation. As I said, I'm feeling less and less comfortable, and I don't see anything wrong with it. We're all adults, but when people come at or say things to me in a certain way, I don't feel that it's something that I should be having a one-on-one discussion with anybody. And I would like other adults in the room, because there are some things that have transpired, as I said, that were public, but I've kept to myself. So I move that we have some type of mediation to move forward.
There's a motion, Ms. Fambro, for the Board of Elections, the Board of Elections staff to enter into mediation to resolve any whatever the conflicts and whatever's behind hostility that has been experienced from staff towards board members. Do we have a second? Mr. Raffle, are you with us?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
So Ms. Fambro has made a motion that the board elections enter into a mediation with Board of Elections staff to help resolve whatever's behind the hostility that the board has experienced from staff in recent months throughout this year. And so I'm asking if there's a second for a motion.
My first concern is I'm not sure that is within our business as the Board of Elections, if that makes sense, in our duties and our oath. So I'm not sure that needs to have a vote, first of all. But I with that, I do support, having some kind of conversation or something. I'm not quite sure. I'm a little confused by the whole conversation in general.
So I think that it would probably, so like in the past, we've had board development sessions. We've had, we just would call a special meeting for those. But also there are, opportunities for executive session possibly. There's also, doing a mediation in some sort of way that would avoid a quorum. But basically, this motion would be directing staff to begin making moves towards whatever form is acceptable to resolve the issues in a sort of a mediation way. Go ahead, Ms.
I also would like to add, it's not a pressurized hostility, and I would probably back off of that word. But there is something that is going on. And Rocky, I think you've joined the board in March, or I'm trying to remember.
March.
March. So it was a couple of things transpired before you came onto the board. And
yeah, I picked up on that, and I would like to have some type of meeting to perhaps clear the air, but I don't think we need a mediator and make a big old deal. I feel like I've been caught in the middle of something that's going on. Not quite sure what. So, but I can't support a mediator, something like that.
Are you saying, Mr. Raffle, that you would support some sort of meeting, but not the idea of having a mediator?
Right.
I can back off of the mediator. As I said, some people from county or city, maybe a couple of commissioners, the legal staff, because I can back off of that. We can get it down to that level, but I feel I'm feeling some kind of way that there's undercurrent going on. And as I said, I don't want to get into any details because this is not the time or the place for it. But yes, Mr. Raffle, I don't, I don't have to go to 0 to 100. I don't. But as I said, I would like other people in the room. And everybody should get together and voice whatever their concerns are so that we can squash or deal with whatever is going on.
Ms. Fambro, I believe I hear you saying, and let me know if I'm wrong, that you're amending your motion to state that you would like for the Board of Elections to have a meeting with staff to resolve whatever is going on, whatever conflict might exist or be hanging in the air, whatever's happening, just so we can move together as a group positively and proactively and as a team and professionally, basically. And you basically are taking the word mediator out of it and just saying meeting. Is that what I hear you saying? Okay, so the motion is that there be a meeting in which the Board of Elections members can meet with staff to discuss anything that needs to be discussed regarding sort of, I use the word hostility, I'm reluctant to say that, and so that we can move forward professionally. And
you can probably use a softer word than that, because some people they might have gotten to that level, but not everybody. So
I can't hear.
That's because
Ms. Fambro, I just muted my mic.
that was, yeah, some other people have muted also. I was saying that it might have reached that level, to use the word hostile, because some of the things that were said to me were hostile, but I'm a very amicable person and I don't care what you say to me or about me. But so I'm in favor of not using that word. Maybe we need to iron out a few things. Family don't always be on one accord. You try to be. And what you just do is you sit down and you have a family meeting and you iron out stuff and you talk stuff out. So that is my mindset, because if I don't ever tell you tell me what you feel like I'm doing that caused you to say this. And maybe I can tell you why I'm feeling this way. Maybe you said something that I'm thinking that allows me to feel that way. And I want to say this, I love everybody. I can say that without reservation, but some things I don't like what folk do. I love everybody, but I don't necessarily like the way people act or what they do. And I do not let that get in the way of the fact that I love everybody. No exceptions.
Ms. Fambro, I believe now, again, your motion is to have a meeting to, maybe I could say just to resolve differences or and between the Board of Elections and Board of Election staff.
Mr. Chair, may I just provide a little bit of information timeline-wise before you vote on your motion? It may impact your vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I did leave to go to the commission meeting as they were, the very first item that they took up was the agenda item that Director Sosby submitted, and I didn't want to miss that in case the commission had questions. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please, that there's a desire for the board to meet with election staff, and I heard you use words like iron out differences or have a discussion. So I will tell you that because of, you all forgive me, because of the pending concerns that you all are aware of, I seriously doubt that you'd be able to have that meeting until those other matters are resolved. And those other matters are already, they've already been activated, right? So the process has already begun. People are already involved. And it is the manager's office prerogative. As a matter of fact, the manager must address those concerns. And I feel fairly confident that those concerns must be addressed first before staff would be able to sit and meet and discuss these matters with you, because I do suspect that some of the concerns you want to discuss in that meeting would also have to be addressed in the other matter.
You know, Ms. Lannon, we all recognize timelines. And if you all would respect Jesse's timeline, Jesse made this request before you all instituted whatever is going on. I don't want to discuss it because you all say it's private. But Jesse absolutely and positively asked for this. And it appears that you all went and set something else in motion to circumvent the letter that Jesse wrote.
I certainly respect your position, Ms. Willer. I respect your.
And it's the truth. If people would look at this timeline, they would understand what I'm saying.
Yes,
because you know what you all set in motion, and it's not going to look good either, because people are going to look at that timeline, and I hate to use the word, it's like retaliation, but I will use it.
I do believe that at some point you'll receive additional information if you desire, and then you can make whatever determinations are appropriate from that point. But I am informing you that I don't believe staff will be able to sit and meet with you and have this meeting until the other matters are resolved.
Thank you for informing us of that, and we'll take that under consideration. I still think that the motion is a valid motion to make, and that you know we can make a decision now about that.
May I
Go
say
ahead, bro.
Jesse is kind of like a whistleblower, so I'm wondering, do y'all want to go there? Because the timeline will say that. You know, you guys do what you have to do, but just be on notice.
So, Ms. Fambro, are you sure that you would like to have this motion to have a meeting to resolve whatever differences exist? You know, regardless of whenever that happens, that meeting should take place.
Yes, because I came to you with my concerns, and I thank you for articulating those concerns in the letter that you wrote. Timeline. Yes,
Okay.
I would like to move forward on that.
Okay. And do we have a second on just the idea of having a meeting to resolve whatever differences exist between staff members and board members? Mr. Rappel?
I'm gonna have to vote no.
Okay, so Mr. Ralph, you're saying that you're not able to, you're choosing not to second Ms. Ambrose's motion?
Yeah, could you repeat the motion again one more time then? I need to reevaluate.
So the motion, as I understand it, Ms. Ambrose, and you can let me know if I'm off here. Go ahead, Ms. Ambrose.
May I make one other comment?
Yes, ma'am.
If for no other reason, I think that the board needs to vote yes, because we absolutely need something in writing from the city manager and Ms. Lannon. You know, it's okay if they say on here, we can't do this because this, and this. But I think for no other reason at all, that we need to vote yes on this, because we need something in writing from them. And they will have to put something in writing and give us an answer why this cannot be done.
For the record, Ms. Fambro and Chairman Evans, my position is not that you cannot proceed with this vote. That's your prerogative. I simply want to inform you that this other matter that's pending will likely need to be resolved before staff will be permitted, or before staff will be able to meet with you. And Ms. Fambro, when I say timeline, I assure you that it's not to try to preclude you from anything. It's certainly not to disrespect or devalue your position, because I value the service that you're providing. There's just additional information that you can receive if you choose to, that I think will shed some light.
You would be sending that to me anyway. Are you prepared today to put in writing why you think that this is not a good thing to do, or why you feel like this is not something that we should be voting on?
Ms. Fambro, that's information that you can already access. I'm not able to discuss that during this meeting, but that's information that's already accessible to you.
Assistant Manager Lana, would you mind sending what you said here to the board via email? But also, just to be clear, Assistant Manager Lana, you're not saying that we shouldn't have a meeting. You're saying your position is that you've just expressed here, I believe, is that it's all right for us to want to have a meeting, but that that in your opinion, that meeting would need to take place after whatever's pending that you referenced, that is taken care of.
So I'll be more specific and direct. I am not trying to impede or even impact this vote at all. If you choose to proceed with this vote and you determine that you want the record to reflect that you want this meeting, so be it. You've already made the request, Mr. Evans, and we have that in the email that you sent to Manager Williams, and I believe you copied me on your original request. What I'm saying is, considering the pending matter that the board members are aware of, it is my belief that the Board of Elections staff would have to wait for those matters to be resolved before they are able to participate in a meeting with you all to iron out your differences, as you stated it.
Okay, so again, you're saying that it would be fine for us to make a motion and to adopt that motion to have that kind of a meeting, but that you're letting us know that your perspective is that staff won't be able to participate in that meeting until after whatever's pending is resolved.
That's your prerogative. That's all I'm saying. Regarding this particular motion, that is the prerogative of the board.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Raffle, does that clarify?
Yes, that does. I still don't think I want to second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Napper, are you up for seconding that, or would you rather not second that?
I don't intend to second that right now. I like to follow the directives of Manager London.
Okay. Given that I'm a voting member of the board, I would at least like to have a vote on this. So I would go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and second it, and it'll be reflected in the minutes. So I'm seconding Ms. Amber's motion that this board meet with staff to resolve differences that have existed. So all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I'd like to abstain.
We have one abstention.
No.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
All right. So the motion does, the motion fails, but we have 2 yes votes. That's me, and also Ms. Fambro, 1 abstention with Mr. Raffle, and 1 no vote with Mr. Napper. Okay. Moving on. It is 6:48. We have several items that we have added to the new business, and Ms. Fambro indicated we might not get to those, all of them today. Ms. Fambro, are you open to tabling some of these or all these remaining with budget, updated bylaws, minutes, and policies?
Absolutely, whatever the pleasure of the board is. If you would poll the board.
Okay, Mr. Napper, would you like to continue with these next 4 items now, or table them for our next meeting?
I would suggest we table. You hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Mr. Raffle?
Could you remind me of the remaining agenda items, please?
Budget, updated bylaws, minutes, and policies.
Yeah, let's table these.
Okay. Ms. Fambro, is that acceptable to you?
Yes, I said whatever the pleasure of the board is, I will go along with it.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So do we have a motion to table agenda item under new business, the 5, 6, 7, and 8, the budget, updated bylaws, minutes, and policies? Table that until our next meeting, regular meeting.
I so move.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. So we've motioned by second by Mr. Napper. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. And I think I know I saw Ms. Fambro just now and say aye. Yep. So it's unanimous. Those are tabled until our next meeting and next regular meeting. Upcoming meeting dates and times. We have a meeting on the 20th, and that is at 4:30, I believe. Double check that. Actually, if staff confirm that, the meeting's at 4:30.
Yes, the meeting's at 4:30. And it
4:30.
is in person in the training room.
4:30 in person at the Lexington Road facility, at 2555 Lexington Road. And it's, like I said, 4:30 p.m. this coming Thursday on August 20th. So, any closing comments? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
That we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn by Ms. Fambro. We have a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Napper. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. 4 votes for adjournment. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next time. I'll see you guys on Tuesday, actually, or Thursday, excuse me, August 20th at 4:30 p.m. on the Lexington Road facility, at the Lexington Road facility.